Yo, peace family. We are back. The one Warren CJ. You already know. I'm tired, but it's been a minute since we chopped it up. But had a few things on my mind, and also wanted to clear something up for a couple of my village members. So I had a close friend of mine pull up to me, and real frustrated. June. I see what you're saying now. I'm noticing a change. I'm seeing people pull, and they refuse to shout you out or whatever the case may be. And I had to explain to the gentleman. I'm like, you look, bro, like it's all biblical, right? So you have to, before I even started on my journey, that's something you have to accept. Like you're not gonna. By the time they figure it out, it's gonna be too late, right? You know what I'm saying? We're too busy moving. So um, when you're moving, sometimes you don't have time to take the pitches. So again, the game we're playing as well is all consumed and based off of money and income. So if you don't have a certain amount of income, you know, in this game, you kind of got to pay to play. So the players in the game that you see often, you're going to see more. Most of the time they either had the backing, they had, or they invested in themselves. They came up, they got their money right, and they doing anything right. Shouts to them for that. Keep it going. Um, but again, being a source, you have to understand that this is all it's coming from a different place. So um, a lot of the times I always show them from videos they send me or they talk about and they refer, use as a reference. I always show them, you know, look at the difference, understand the terminology, understand the shift and change, and take it for whatever it is. Is it working? Yes, it is. A lot of people are changing their delivery. A lot of people are starting to read more. You know what I'm saying? A lot of young guys are starting to get out of that, you know, mentality of, money is everything and I gotta have the most expensive things because again, like I said in my podcast, June's Logic podcast, if you want to catch up and none of this making sense to you, said it before. It's all chess and no matter what level you are in, no matter what game you are in, you will peak. I don't care what you do. You will peak. So 9 to 5, like myself, because I haven't gotten to the point where everything is financially stable enough for me to just do certain things that I would like to do. So that's my fight. It is what it is. Everybody else had their fight to get to where they had to go to. They sacrifice whatever they need to sacrifice to get there. Shouts to you, so be it, right? So for my team, I'm explaining this to you because you understand where I'm coming from. So piggybacking on that, I want to break down some things to you, and I had to explain it to him, and it kind of gets deep, right? So just gonna get into it. Yeah, it'll make sense. Like I said to my newcomers, you know what I'm saying. If you feel a little lost, tap back into June's Logic's podcast on Spotify. A lot of my old episodes there from years ago when I first started. You'll get an understanding of where you get an understanding of where I'm coming from. So again, I just want to get into it. And bear with me. Like I said, hear me out. You know what I'm saying. So first, um, as of recent, you've been hearing the word offense and be on offensive, being tossed around a lot. Social media, news, whatever. Um, Again, my podcast, my village, remember, remember we broke down how everything is systematic and it is what it is, right? No hate, no foul. It is what it is, just part of the game. But triggers, trigger words. uh, Understanding that if you're in control of a machine, I can shut down part of that machine and still function how I want it to function. So if I want to save gas on my machine, I can shut down the right arm and still finish the mission and save gas. You know what I mean? So there you go. um, Follow me. Offense. It was a term, like I said, recently used. It's been being recently thrown around, but follow me. The word offense derives from a Middle English, Old French, and ultimately the Latin offenses, meaning a striking against. Follow me. It signifies an injury, transgression of law, or the wounding of feelings, root linked to offender, to strike against. The literal meaning, a striking against, which is metaphorically meant to stumble or commit a fault. Let me repeat that. The literal meaning of the word offense is a striking against, which metaphorically is meant to stumble or commit a fault. Follow me. The Old French meaning, offense, spelled Ofense, means insult, wrong, or harm. The Old French term in use for offense, spelled Ofense, means insult, wrong, or harm. Biblical meaning is often referred to a stumbling block or rock of offense. Or rock of offense. In early English translations of Isaiah 8:14, reinforcing the notion of a tripping hazard. The legal use of offense. Used to define a violation of law, crime, or misdemeanor. So again, like I said before on my podcast and prior conversations to this, my village, you have trigger words. Subconsciously, when you're part of a machine, you don't even know what you're doing, but they cloned Tyrone, right? That movie. When the guy came in the street and everybody stopped, he had a trigger word and nobody could move. It's like kind of like similar to that. You know what I'm saying? It's all hypothetical, but that's kind of what I mean by trigger word. So that's the definition of offense in its entirety. Do your research on that if you need to get in depth with it. But again, you have some people that are going to read things for the surface level, and that's why I gave you so many different definitions, right? You're going to have people that's going to get surface level of it so they can just run with it in a conversation. You're going to have some people that's going to read the first and second so they can just know a little bit more than the first so they can have an argument point, right? Then you're going to have somebody that's going to go in depth and find out the source and do their homework, and then it'll manifest and it makes sense. So again, that's the word offense. Defense refers to the protection, resistance, or justification against attack, harm, or legal liability, covering context from military strategy and sports to legal proceedings. Key aspects of defense: legal defense, affirmative defense, military/national defense, defense tactics, psychological defense. Google it. Common legal defense techniques: self-defense, alibi, insanity/diminished capacity, entrapment, mistake or fact. Defense: divine protection, refuge, and security provided by God. Let me repeat that. Defense, biblically, divine protection, refuge, and security provided by God. And I'm going to give you some examples. So again, you can do your homework. It's my village. This is what we do for the newcomers. I encourage you, if you're going to ride on my train, get a pen and paper. Sometimes you got to listen to it twice, Yeah, it is what it is. So write it down. Do your own research and probably make sense to you. So some examples of defense and how it's used in the Bible for protection. Psalms 18, verse 2. Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need to be still. Anyway, Proverbs 31:8 and 9. 1 Peter 3, chapter 3, verse 15. Psalm 7, verse 10. Psalms 18, verse 2. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 through 17. And in that, it details the armor of God for spiritual defense. So again, no matter the spelling of defense, it often refers to God's protection, ultimately. So again, understand what I'm saying, village. I know you get it. And to the gentleman and a few guys that's, been talking to me on the side with your frustration, hopefully this makes sense to you. You dig what I mean? It's about the big picture. It's enough for everybody to eat. And some people weren't groomed the same. You know what I mean? As far as understanding, that it's not going to take nothing from you for you to shout out the nigga that's helping you eat. Or shout out the person that's helping you eat. Or shout out the people that you're getting a good idea from. But again, it'll all come in at the end. We're not here for that. So I'm saying that to the guys that come to me out of frustration. Sorry you feel that way, but again, we're going to keep it pushing. Keep the faith, you know what I mean? You're part of the elect, so it's a big difference.